Okay, so welcome everyone. Today I am just representing Taru.
Why
uh,
Taru's not well?
yeah, she is a bit kind of wanting rest. So I'll just do the introduction. So welcome to Friday Study Circle, where we talk about words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo and any other masters or mystics. Basically, reflect upon them so that they can become a part of our life, daily life. So anyone who feels ready to share anything that you have read, please unmute and yeah. Badalji, you want to
Yeah,
share first? Yeah. Okay.
good evening. I was reading Faith and Shakti. That is in the yoga, synthesis of yoga. So that one paragraph, in that paragraph, the last one sentence is having 116 words. I just counted the words. And I thought that this is everything. Actually, we need not read the whole book. This one sentence consisting of 116 words is sufficient for life. That everything has been put into that. There are a lot of thought processes can be emanated from that. Actually, it can be discussed and understood and realized and practiced in our life. So, the incarnate word that can be put faith and Shakti. The paragraph starts with the three parts of the perfection of our instrumental nature. The three parts of the perfection of our instrumental nature.
Yeah, I'm just putting it on.
Okay. So should I start reading?
Yeah, please do.
The end of the paragraph, there is a sentence. There is one kind of faith demanded or indispensable by the integral yoga, and that may be described as faith in God and the Shakti. Faith in the presence and power of the divine in us and the world. A faith that all in the world is the working of one divine Shakti, that all the steps of the yoga, its strivings and sufferings and failures, as well as its successes and satisfactions and victories, are utilities and necessities of our workings, and that by firm and strong dependence on and a total self-surrender to the divine and to his Shakti in us, we can attain to oneness and freedom and victory and perfection. Yeah, this is the. So it's a big sentence. So initially, but then I read couple of times. Then these are the points which are coming to my mind. The one is that the faith in God and Shakti. So anything we are starting, whether yoga or to continue, so that we have to have faith in God and Shakti. The next point was faith in the presence of power of the divine in us and the world. So we have to have absolute faith in the presence and power of the divine, and not only in us but also in the whole world. Uh, Next thought is all in the world is the working of one divine Shakti. There is only one. Uh, all in the steps of the yoga, its strivings, sufferings, failures, successes, satisfaction, victories are utilities and necessities of her workings. That means that Shakti, her workings are these actually, all the steps of the yoga, whatever, the step by step we follow this. And this, whether we are success, we are having success, satisfaction, and victories are utilities and necessities of our workings. Then next point was the firm and strong dependence. So we have to totally dependent, like the story of Ramakrishna. He says that the kitten, we have to be like kitten, total dependence. The baby cat. It doesn't know anything. That mother takes wherever and put her there. There she is totally dependent, 100% dependent, firm and strong dependence. Then this total self surrender to the divine and to his Shakti in us. So we have to totally surrender to the divine. And the last point was in the sentence, we can attain to oneness and freedom and victory and perfection. So we can then attain to oneness, and we can see one in everybody. There is no second person or third person. Means I can see God in everybody and every creation of the God. So that is the oneness. We can attain to oneness and freedom and victory and perfection. So these are the highlights of this particular sentence. So here it encapsulates the total life actually, means whatever the faith and belief we have in God and God in ourselves. We have to establish that, and we have to discover ourselves, and then we have to be totally surrender. There is no point. We are not other than God, and then this total dependence as well as this oneness. Once we can attain that oneness, and that is the end of it, and that is actually the freedom. And when I was reading this about the freedom, then I was remembering about Swami Vivekananda. Exactly the same type of thought was told when this Advaita Ashram at Mayavati was established. Then he could not be there during that inauguration, and so he wrote uh, uh, something like he wrote a preamble sort of thing of that ashram, and in his own words. So I wrote two paragraphs, and this two means one two sentences. This is also not less actually. This is about 70 words. In that, he described about the freedom. So it starts like this: in whom is the universe? Who is in the universe? Who is the universe? In whom is the soul? Who is the soul? Who is the soul of man? Knowing him and therefore the universe as ourself, self S capital, alone extinguishes all fear and brings an end to misery. All leads to infinite freedom. Wherever there has been expansion in love and progress in well-being of individuals or numbers, it has been through the perception, realization, and the practicalization of the external truth, the oneness of all beings. Dependence is misery, independence is happiness. So this is about the oneness in all beings, and about that freedom. So it carries the same sort of thing. This how that Advaita Ashram has to be taken as. So this uh, we have to attain oneness and freedom. Then it will be victorious and perfection. So our strive, dedication should be on this. So thank you. I have finished. So we would like to hear the reflection. Thank you.
I have something to share on this. When you started, Captain, I was a bit distracted. And when you read, the first few lines, what I heard was that faith is Shakti. And suddenly it struck me that how come I never felt, I felt that before. I felt that several times, right? Like the power of faith. And yet I have never heard this sentence that faith is the power, right? Like, of course, you hear it as a sideline thing, right? Like faith gives you power, and if you have faith, you are stronger and stuff. And yet this direct thing that faith actually is a force, right? Is a power. It was just really, I mean, it's like, how you have heard things, but suddenly things make like they are more clear and they kind of, so yeah, I didn't hear a little bit again after that because I was so lost into that faith is a Shakti thing. But I think it's beautiful because how they say faith can move mountains, right? Like even in like faith, I think is one of those things which is kind of more acceptable also. Like of course people have doubt and yet it's acceptable in say the regular English and these phases, and yet we keep doubting, so that's a different thing. So I'll just stop here. But for me the takeaway was that yeah, faith is a Shakti, like one of the biggest powers that I can have when I, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
This is also beautiful, this line here, where it says that a faith that all in the world is the working of one divine Shakti, that all the steps of the yoga, its strivings and sufferings and failures. So I think this is so beautiful, that because many a times on the path we think that, oh my God, I'm not yet there, I've failed. If we fall into, many a times traps here and there. But here in Savitri also, Sri Aurobindo says that our errors are his steps on the way. So this is really very powerful here. Its strivings and sufferings and failures, as well as its successes and satisfactions, are victories and utilities and necessities of our workings. So like as if, the divine is the ultimate compost maker, that nothing goes waste, nothing goes waste. So my sufferings, my failures, all my little baby steps on the path, everything is made use of, nothing goes waste. So that's really very powerful. Yeah. Yeah, anyone who wants to add on to any reflection?
I think faith coupled with a total surrender gives you the full deal. Then you can consider yourself marching ahead. Till then, faith without a total surrender keeps you somewhere lagging behind. Because personally, I remember that I had a lot, even when I had a lot of faith and the surrender was not there or it was inadequate, it was just, I didn't even know about it. The faith remained, but the progress staggered. There was nothing. I mean, I would keep thinking that, I have faith. I had the patience. I have the faith. So things will all sort out, but they never really did. And then it was very late in the day, that late as in my life, that I realized that unless it is coupled with surrender, or I would say total self-consecration, which we haven't yet achieved, but unless it was coupled, you didn't move. But once you do, then definitely there is a very, very concrete change. That was what I observed.
I think if time permits, we can also go down where what Badalji was sharing. There was something on doubt. I think that would also be interesting to read. That he says that
Yeah, I
doubt
was
has
also
utility. Yeah. Yeah. Claudia, you have anything to add on or share here, or shall we go ahead?
No, not now. I just rejoined, so just catching up. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, this one here, the enemy of faith is doubt, and yet doubt too is a utility and necessity. So I thought we'll Yes, Taru, you want to share?
Yeah, I actually, the portion that you highlighted, Monica, about, the failures and sufferings and strivings and stuff. Like, it's really interesting that if I win, like just using regular language, I somehow it feels like, okay, like, if you hear a Oscar speech or any speech, right? Like when you win, it's everybody, right? Like, okay, the whole kind of everybody held, and it was like it's not a universal, but yet it's expanded. But somehow when I fail, there's a lot of me in it. There's a lot of it's very personal. It's like, I fail. Like somehow I feel, I mean, it's possible in success as well, when it gets on somebody's head. But just talking generally, somehow failure I mean, all these things actually, the base is the making it personal, right? Again and again and again we see, but especially in failures, it's like I was talking to somebody, and they were kind of in a something, with a strife with someone, and then they said, it's finally I feel that I don't want to fight anymore, and I want to say, okay, you win and I lose. And then they said that, but there's something in me which is saying that, but how can you leave the battle? How can you? And yet, if you look at it, if you realize that the battle was never yours in the first place. There's a guy say dholu, and somebody said, oh, somebody took your cow, and he's going and fighting with somebody. You took my cow, you took my cow. And after 5 hours, somebody says, oh, it wasn't even your cow. So if he'll walk away, he wasn't fighting. He cannot say, I left my battle, because the battle was never his to begin with. And that is true for each and everything that we engage in with our images, right? With the stories and images. The moment you realize it's not me, it's my ego, right? It's dholus. It's not, it's like you're not that, you're not that. We hear it so often. And yet we jump on it. It's my loss, it's my failure. I didn't stand up to the mark. So this dynamics of kind of, it also I think somehow shows that how we are told to be critical of ourselves, not like somehow as a society, because that's the way we are kind of told you will improve. And that's not a very healthy way of teaching a kid, right? Like we would not want to do that to a kid, to say, just focus on faults and how could you. And yet we do that to ourselves. Like thankfully we recognize and we are able to. But this personal thing, like becoming, saying it was my cow again and again, if we can see that more and keep, letting go, it would be so nice. Thank you.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think this is beautiful to recognize that the center of world is me, either through failure or through success. Ego just wants to be the center of the world, that the focus. And I think this is how we prolong our sufferings also. That if I'm not suffering, who am I? There is no story to me. I'm just a nobody, and we don't like to be nobody. So I think it's beautiful to recognize that, especially in failures. And also, I think it depends on the natures of individual persons, because someone would take success on its head and not own the failure, while the other would maybe too much own a failure and not bother much about, that success was also there. So I think this middle path, and which Kabir, your talk what you were sharing reminded me of Kabir's couplet, where he says how a guru makes a chela or the disciple, is that imagine that there is a potter's wheel, and he's making shaping a pot, and he's also supporting it from inside. So he also takes care of the strengths that the person has, he appreciates that. And on the outside, he's kind of making the hammering and chiseling and whatever. So I think there is this middle path that is necessary, that not to own too much of anything, to notice that yes, I have been kind also, what grace, and to notice that yes, I have been unkind and here I can improve. So I think this is a very delicate balance. Yeah, absolutely.
And just on this, I remember like I was listening to a talk by Tenzin Palmo, and there, she had specified that how the word "I" is always capitalized, right? Like that kind of signifies that how I am the center. If it's good, if it's bad, if it's success, if it's failure, it's the I that stands out. And I think this is probably when you were talking, I realized, how Sri Aurobindo says that to hear people speak, that's not his exact language. One would think that God doesn't have a sense of humor, right? There's a quote by him on those lines. I think, again, because I take everything personally, how can I laugh on myself, right? And when I laugh at myself and I'm still it hurts. So I think whenever we are not able to laugh at a situation or on ourselves, that can also be an indication to see that what am I sticking to or what have I picked up that so yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That something happened a day before, and it was a dark situation for me. And it was amazing to see that how I was able to get myself out of it. And it reminded me of when mother talks about self forgetfulness, that you do not bother about your problems and worries that much. And the moment something in me decided that I don't want to pay attention to this, I don't want to connect any dots, I think something shifted within me. And immediately I immersed myself in a work which was higher or loftier, as mother says, that distract yourself with something higher and lofty, and do not pay much attention to the ego. So I think that really helped me shift the thing within. I don't know how it happened, but it happened, and it was just a shift, and then I came out of it. Otherwise it was too intense. If you give importance to the sticky character of the ego, the story and the drama, I think it's so dark that there is no end to the darkness. Yeah. And it's also amazing that the free will is also always there, and whenever you are ready, you can make that shift from darkness to light. That's also very nice. Yeah.
I find as we progress, I don't call it progress, or as we go along the path, one does tend to have longer and longer periods of standing back, letting go, and being calmer, till a stage comes when it doesn't matter anymore. Things which excited us so much and had us, yelling reactions at things, now they don't move you. It's okay. It happened. Let's move on. Not that you've got something more important to do, but but you have better things to do. So
Absolutely. Yeah. I was also wondering that how important the story in the head makes it, kind of
yes,
again and again, as if give me attention, जैसे मैं ही सबसे ज़्यादा important. And it's amazing that uh, we have seen it so many times that we get nothing from that story. We get nothing. And there I feel it's almost a act of self kindness or self love when we choose not to give importance to the ego or the story or the drama in the head. Because otherwise it's so much of torture that we inflict on ourselves continuously. Yeah.
like a simple thing, I when I returned from India over here, after 2 years, I was looking in my safe and I couldn't find a whole box of valuables. Simple. Now, in normal circumstances, I would have panicked, brought the roof down, sweated, searched, hunted, made the house upside down, gone back to India, gone and hunted everywhere. And, it would have sort of catapulted into a real hectic activity mission. Believe me, I've done nothing. And if it is there with me, it will be somewhere, it will be found. But if it is not, it's okay. And my husband was shocked. So I said, "It's not that you get anything by, setting up our panic reactions and the physical movements with it. And when illness follows and stuff like that. It was so easy. And then I realized that yes, this mode is working and it is successful. And I'm happily living through it past 2 years.
कुछ नहीं बिगड़ा. Yeah. It's amazing how much we make things important that इसके बिना तो काम नहीं चलेगा and सबके बिना काम चल जाता है. Yeah. Yes, Taru.
No, this is so beautiful, that this ability to stay unresolved. Like, you know how Josna ji said, like, even if she had to go back just to know whether that thing is there or she lost it somewhere in between, it would have made no difference to her actually having it or losing it, most likely. And yet, there's something in us, or maybe that's how kind of the world, like, you know, the society works. You know, this sentence I hear so often, that पता तो होना चाहिए ना, you must know, you must know, you must know, but why? We don't usually question that, right? Like, what difference would it make right now? Or if I don't want to know, people give you really odd looks, right? Like, what's wrong with you? Why would you not want to know? And yet, like, you look at the smile on Josna's face and she's sharing it, the beauty to actually be at ease and not knowing. You know how I think Buddha says, na, ki, uh, to actually overcome a desire is, you know, gives you more pleasure than 1,000 desires that you have actually been granted or achieved. It's just amazing how the reverse is there's a possibility, and there's so much more beauty and depth in that. So thank you so much for sharing it, Jyotsna.
And in reality, it's a good amount of stuff, huh? But I said, is it going to change my life? Is it going to change the path and course of my life and my priorities? No. Am I dependent on it? No. Will I be able to survive, or will my life go on without it? Yes. So lump it. Life became so easy, you know, so pleasant and so nice, and there was no panic at all.
Yeah, welcome, Chitra ji.
When Manika ji was talking about we have to forget, like remembering is one quality. Similarly, forget is also one of the quality. So somebody was giving example of a lawyer. Suppose one lawyer in High Court or Supreme Court. Suppose there are 3 cases been, it has been put in the program for the same gentleman. So in the morning there is one session, in the afternoon there are 2 sessions. So you ask the lawyer any question when in the morning session about the 2 other cases, he doesn't have any idea. If you ask him any question, then he says, no, I don't know. So maybe for 2 hours program he has got in the morning, and the time he doesn't know that other things. And in the second session when he's going, then he remembers only about the second session. What is this murder case or whatever the case, property case and all. He knows each and everything about that case. Similarly, in the third case. So somebody says that if the person can have this quality, so why that pain and sufferings what we have, and we are out of line, out of mind. So why can't we come back? So that the concentration is required. And because he knows that I have the prestige there, I am a good lawyer, and if I'm not in a position to do the justice in the case, so it will be lost. So that everything, total concentration has gone in that. So similarly, this is also a quality, like I have to repair myself, how to come back quickly, so that I'm not still in that suffering phase. That phase can be changed. That's all. Thank you.
Yes, I think both abilities are so important. The ability to remember, but remember the right things. And the ability to forget and forget the right things, forget the things that don't matter and to remember the things that matter. So I think, yeah, just like we have a mind, and to use it wisely, not to regurgitate what is unimportant, but to use it to remember what is really, really important. Yeah, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, Chitra ji, you want to share anything today?
Today I'll watch Monica, because actually this Russian days from November 17th to December 5th, we used to read Savitri a lot. morning 1 hour and evening 1 hour. So my days are going like that. Yeah, today also it is between 6:30 to 7:30. Actually.
Okay. Okay. So
Yeah.
people from all over the world?
No, actually, I connected with the Singapore Center,
Yes, yes.
Mother Center.
Yeah. Okay.
From we met in we used to meet in Skype, and we will read certain pages each one,
Okay.
2 or 3 pages. But it is divided between November 17th to December 5th. It comes up to 39 or 40 pages each day.
Mhm.
Like that, we will do. Yes.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, Jyotsna.
So whole day.
Yeah.
I've read on psychic growth, inspiration. I thought it was nice for a change because the psychic has always fascinated us. There's a question: does the psychic being always progress? Then it will show up, I think. Does the psychic being always progress? The first line is, there are in the psychic being two very different kinds of progress. Yeah. One consisting in its formation, building, and organization. For the psychic starts by being only a kind of tiny divine spark inside the being, and out of this spark will emerge progressively an independent conscious being having its own action and will. The psychic being at its origin is only a spark of the divine consciousness, and it is through successive lives that it builds up a conscious individuality. It is a progress similar to that of a growing child. It is a thing in the making. For a long time, in most human beings, the psychic is a being in the making. It is not a fully individualized, fully conscious being, the master of itself, and it needs all its rebirths, one after another, in order to build itself and become fully conscious. But this sort of progress has an end. There comes a time when the being is fully developed, fully individualized, fully master of itself and its destiny. When this being or one of these psychic beings at that state takes birth in a human being, that makes a very great difference. The human being, so to say, is born free. He is not tied to circumstances, to surroundings, to his origin and atavism like ordinary people. He comes into the world with the purpose of doing something, with a work to carry out, a mission to fulfill. From this point of view, his progress in growth has come to an end. That is, it is not indispensable for him to take birth again in a body. Till then, rebirth is a necessity, for it is through rebirth that he grows. It is in the physical life and in a physical body that he gradually develops and becomes a fully conscious being. But once he is fully formed, he is free in this sense that he can take birth or not at will. So there, one kind of progress stops. Should I read the next paragraph and then stop?
Yeah, I think because it's
Yeah.
only this last one. Yes, you can.
It's connected.
Yeah.
But if this fully formed being wants to become an instrument of work for the divine, if instead of retiring to repose in a psychic bliss in its own domain, he chooses to be a worker upon earth to help in the fulfillment of the divine work, then he has a fresh progress to make, a progress in the capacity for work, for organization of his work, and for expression of the divine will. So there is a time when the thing changes. So long as he remains in the world, so long as he chooses to work for the divine, he will progress. Only if he withdraws into the psychic world and refuses to continue doing the divine work or renounces it, can he remain in a static condition outside all progress, because, as I have told you, only upon earth is there progress, only in the physical world. It is not acquired everywhere. In the psychic world, there is a kind of blissful repose. One remains what one is without any movement.
Yeah, I have some water. Yes.
I liked it because we keep talking of the psychic, but knowing the evolution of the psychic, this entire chapter of psychic growth inspiration is a very beautiful chapter.
You know what it just describes, it's remarkably similar to what I have been going through in Tibetan Buddhism. So that day I was sharing with some of you on child luminosity and mother luminosity. It appears very like heavy, but it's not really difficult to understand. Whenever we say that we are all sparks of divine consciousness, you know, so the consciousness that is present in me is and of that which I am conscious of is a very little light, but the actual light that all of us are, we are ignorant of that. That's why we call ignorance. It's not that we are not that divine consciousness, it's just that I don't know that I am that treasure. So it's ignoring that treasure. And what they people, you know, in Tibetan Buddhism, exactly, you know, what you shared in this paragraph, they say that why is it important to self-realize while you are alive? Because when you are undergoing the process of dying, then you have actually a choice to make. Either you can fall into an unconscious rebirth, or if you have realized yourself to a certain degree in your life, have recognized that spark in you in this life, then you will be able, you have more chances to be conscious when the dying process is happening, when the body is letting go of, and when your divine consciousness, who you truly are, is shining in full glory. So you will be able to recognize it, and hence you will not fall unconscious, you will not take unconscious rebirth. And there is also an opportunity to consciously choose a birth in that time. Or for higher people who are much evolved, they have the conscious choice of whether they want to go into the psychic world, the higher realms, or they want to take a conscious rebirth so that they can be of some help to people who are still struggling. That's what, you know, higher people do, people who are highly evolved. So this is, I was really amazed at the starking resemblance of what I went through and what this shares. Yeah, very powerful.
Connected to this, there is a story from Mother. One of her very close friend, a French lady, Madame Neil something. She was very close, a very close friend, and she died. And it is said that they used to aspire for spiritual growths together. And when she died, her soul came to Mother. And Mother told her soul that, wait, I will put you into a body fit for you, means into an apt body where you will be able to progress. She refused, and Mother explained this to her soul 3 times, and she still refused. And she said, no, I want to be free. And she opted and took the choice of freeing her soul and going into nirvana. So then after that, mother said that finally the soul has the choice. And despite my telling her any amount and her enduring her lifetime having faith in me and vice versa, her soul chose the other way. And she says, you cannot really tell what the soul will choose, only the soul knows. So, connected with what you say, yes, the soul has a choice.
I think the other thing which people from Tibetan Buddhism, they stress upon, and even Master's Mystics, Mother Sri Aurobindo, they stress upon this realization of self in this life itself. Because otherwise it's such a horrid place that one can go through if one does not realize who we truly are. If we always consider that I am the body, I am the thought, I am the feeling, then even when you are dropping the body, the consciousness is clinging to the body in a very sad kind of a way, that, oh my God, what just happened? So you can't make a sense of what is happening because you always lived like a body. So that's what even masters and mystics stress upon, that wake up to your truth while you are still alive. And I think it's such an important thing, that as I think Badalji was sharing, to remember it again and again, not to forget it. Yeah.
And also in one of the Alukda's talk, I heard that after mother's avataric mission, she put a way for each and every soul who are following the path, it seems. It is a way of love. She will carry us through her love. There won't be much struggle if we really open to her force, actually. Because it was asked about that Mridu, no? Josraji, you know, that Mridu, that lady who lived there when Sri Aurobindo was there. She used to cook for Sri Aurobindo. She's a her moods. She had a lot of mood swings, and she would always frighten Sri Aurobindo. If you don't eat my food, I will commit suicide. But Sri Aurobindo and mother kept her very loud. Yeah, short-tempered. Kept her very lovely in their by their presence. But when she died, mother saw Sri Aurobindo's symbol in her forehead, it seems.
Yes.
Mother went and asked Sri Aurobindo, she too, yes, irrespective of her qualities, because she is here, I extend my protection and love to her, he said, it seems. So that much power they have, no? Yeah. When you are telling, it reminded me. Even that Anita Murjani, her near-death experience, she felt that love, it seems, no? Love, full of love.
Mother practiced Buddhism for a while, and she read Dhammapada for about 4 years. She practiced for
Even
about
in
2 years plus.
Yeah. Even in one of the prayers and meditations, she wrote it as a conversation between her and Buddha. As if Buddha asked her to reveal her diamond inside, but she refused. Like that, on prayers meditations is there, actually.
I think if you actually, so nowadays we have been reading this book and this about, the teachings of Tenzin Palmo, and it's amazing the resemblance you see in her words and what mother talks about. A very, very strong resemblance. Yeah.
There is a facial resemblance also.
Yeah, even her hands, I saw, like mother's hands, you had sent that picture. And if you
Okay.
look at her hands, they are long and rectangular,
Hmm.
quite resembling.
Yeah.
Sorry, is someone right now that is with the same being that the mother or the Sri Aurobindo alive in, I mean, in the between this organization? I mean, someone that have
No, actually,
himself that's
yeah, we were just commenting that this lady who has this biography of Cave in the Snow, I think I had shared in the Vital workshop also. So that
Yes.
lady, her hands actually and her teachings, they resemble the mother. I think that's what we were talking of. Yeah. And she's still alive. So yeah. Yeah, anyone who has anything. Taru, are you there?
Yeah. Yeah. I actually also did read about the psychic being today, but I mean, what Jyotsna ji said was more, I don't know, yeah, I mean, because it was a lot that was said there, but very simply, here it said that it contains all essential possibilities of our manifestation, but is not constituted by them. It is not limited by what it manifests, not contained by the incomplete forms of the manifestation, not tarnished by the imperfections and impurities, the defects and deprivations of the surface being. It's like just to, you know, how again when we were talking about failures some time back, to read this again, that how it can all coexist, like it's that nothing needs to define the other, but because we always want to kind of maintain one position. What's your stand on this? How do you take this? Are you strong? Are you weak? Are you hardworking? Are you lazy? We always like to classify and title ourselves, and that is so not needed, like that's so unnecessary. You keep seeing that. It's really nice. And the shock that Monica, you were talking about when you were sharing about the Tibetan knowledge. My brother was hit by lightning. I mean, a direct hit, and I was very close. We were like we were quite close, and I felt. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, I would not have even admitted to it, but I actually did speak to somebody, a Lopa, who takes a subtle, classes thing. But she said it happens. I felt his shock. Like I actually wasn't even there in my senses. There's not much I remember of being there anyways, because I was somewhere else. But somewhere in my being, his shock at that event, because obviously lightning strikes in a kind of a instant. Like I have certain visions, and that calling out, he actually called out my name. Nobody heard, but I heard it and stuff. So it's pretty, it's huge, the immensity of the loss, that what just happened, like what just like kind of how they show it in Bollywood movies, that if somebody's, I don't know, but the intensity, of course, it's like I have lived as my body, the whole, it's like it even sounds weird, this sentence, right? Like I have lived as my body, because anybody would say that who else would you live as? So to get that separated, I mean, it's one can imagine, right? Or can't, but the shock of it. And even, I think the book that you were, not the book, but in the Bardo that you had shared the article of dying and stuff, I think they said for 3 days it's unconscious, right? Because the shock of it is so great that it just falls into unconsciousness, and then it wakes up and again realizes what has happened. So, like from everywhere, it's like, wake up, right? Like Abir, shouts and cries that, like the whole world is parting. And I don't know, dancing, but I am standing and crying, because this is so precious. This is so precious. And yet it is what it is. I mean, everybody has a journey. Again, in the same book that I was reading about the psychic being, it did say that, no matter where you are, there is something, from the, of course, from the, rooted through the psychic being that keeps wanting you to progress, right? That like there's a nature, it's happening through the psychic being, and there is something that wants you to keep in, kind of increasing, not increasing, but looking up and stuff. So that's also great. But that's what he talks about there, that when one, kind of actively starts becoming involved in their progress, it's then that the game changes. So yeah, thank you.
Taru, can you go over the lines that you read again?
Which ones? The ones
जो
that I read?
essential वाली, हाँ, जो lines आपने अभी
Yeah.
पढ़ी थी.
Do you want to put that up?
कौन सी किताब है?
I was actually not able to put that up, so that's why I'm asking.
So
It's growing within.
within.
This is
So-
Dr. Dalal.
हाँ, Dalal. Yeah.
It's so nice. There's no, it doesn't even say who it is by.
Actually,
That's
it's
so
the
No, it must
compilation.
be A.S. Dalal.
Yeah.
okay.
Abdul Dalal.
Yes.
So Monica, it says it is not limited by what it manifests. If you want to put that up.
Yeah, I've got it. Yes.
Yeah. So it starts a bit before that. At the beginning of this whole, I think the paragraph starts. That was also quite beautiful, but this part I especially resonate.
He wrote this when there was no internet.
At
I
least
used to meet him,
Yeah.
and he used to be poring over books and searching, and then
Wow.
physically means actually writing, not even typing.
Beautiful. I think it shows also the compilations are so beautiful, the ones that he has made. So yeah, this thing I wanted to kind of go over because it's so crucial. I think this can be a mantra again and again for all of us. It contains all essential possibilities of our manifestation, but is not constituted by them. It is not limited by what it manifests. I think it's almost as if we are reading the Gita here.
Yeah.
Not contained by the incomplete forms of the manifestation, not tarnished by the imperfections and impurities and defects and deprivations of the surface being. So this exactly would correlate with when I close my eyes and I know myself as awareness, as the space which has the furniture, but it's not limited by the furniture. So the awareness can be aware of thoughts, feelings, and sensations, but is not limited by thoughts, feelings, and sensations. The awareness, it's because of the presence of awareness that I can become aware of a thought, of a feeling, of, so it's beautiful that it reminds us back of our true nature. And this space, which is awareness, it appears empty, but it's a pregnant emptiness. It says it contains all essential possibilities of our manifestation, but is not constituted by them. It means that all the things that come up in my ideas, intuitions, all the upsurges, it is the source of all that. The awareness is the source of all that, but is beyond the all that, the possibilities. So it's beautiful, and it's no matter how many sins one may have committed, no matter how many successes one may have got, it is untouched, just like space is untouched by the furniture that is there in the space. So that's really very powerful, these 4 lines. Yeah.
Monica, if you search in the book, if you press that, there's another paragraph after that that was also very nice.
Actually, somehow
also.
this internet, it was not coming forward. This page is not loading.
Okay.
That's why I had to resort to the earlier stuff, but maybe now it loads. See, it's just going round, round, round. I don't know. If you can find it, if you want to find it.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's some loading. Maybe the server is down. Oh, mine is also stuck like that, and my
Yeah.
otherwise internet is very good. So
Oh.
I'll just read it, and then I think we can take up some. So it says that, you know how it talks about the positive things now, that the spiritual stuff is immaculate and luminous, and because it's so perfectly luminous, it is intimately, directly aware of truth. It is deeply conscious of truth and good, you know, some like those things. But then it is also aware of all that contradicts these things, of all that deviates from its own native character of falsehood and evil and the ugly and the unseemingly. But it does not become these things, nor is it touched or changed. So here, you know, what I felt was that I want to be good, right? I want to be without anger. I want to be without desires. And when I see the opposite in me, something in me, you know, cringes. And yet, knowing, and I think the prayers and meditation course, you know, that you take from the mother, that really helped me in seeing this, that the opposite has to exist, you know. And when I can accept it, I can start seeing patterns, right? Like I know that, oh, that person is doing that, I'm about, I can get triggered again, because exactly the same thing is happening, right? So when you start catching those things, probably the trigger reduces, or the duration of the impulse reduces, the reaction. But if we don't even accept, because, you know, I have an image of somebody in the white robe just floating in the air, then it's not even possible for me to do anything about it. I just keep suppressing or rejecting or saying that doesn't go with the image that I have. You know how everything is telling us it's impersonal, right? It's one. And how I just keep, you know, kind of putting it, okay, this is my thing, this is my thing. So again, this, it's also aware of all that contradict these things, of all that deviates from its own native character of falsehood and evil and the ugly and the unseemingly seemly. But it does not become these things, nor is it touched or changed. The opposite of itself, which is so powerfully affects. I think it just goes on, but that was just the point. Yeah.
You know, it's almost like an ocean or maybe a pool of water may be having different kinds of bubbles. Some bubbles are good bubbles, some bubbles are bad bubbles, but the ocean is not defined by that bubble. And I think we have to know ourselves again and again, coming back as the ocean, which is almost untouched. It doesn't matter whether the bubbles are there or not, if I know myself as the ocean. But if I know myself as the bubble, then it matters to me, you know, and it troubles me again and again. Yeah. And this also connects with the other quote by the mother, where mother says, you are more than your experiences. So the bubbles are my experiences, and this consciousness, which is aware of all these experiences, is who I truly am. And I'm always more than the content of the consciousness. So that really gives us back our power, you know, which is again and again talked in Savitri also, that the king is now throned, you know, on his seat. Yeah. I think there is also, I am feeling more the need of a practice a day to day, because too much of reading, one can begin to feel that I know, that I'm already the divine consciousness. One can get a feeling, because you're reading the words again and again, you are immersed in those words. But I think the importance of practice is something which has almost been, I would say, reinstigated by this book also that we were sharing with you, Cave in the Snow, Tenzing Palmo's words, that we cannot miss the importance of knowing ourselves as consciousness again and again, again and again. So like 10 minutes every 3 hours, or whatever may suit anyone. And hence that would stretch throughout the day, in 24 hours that would get stretched. So this individual personal practice is so important. Yeah.
Practice as in?
The practice, I was talking about the practice, specifically the sitting or the lying down practice of knowing yourself as consciousness, as awareness. I was talking of that practice. Yeah. Because, क्योंकि जैसे books पढ़ना is good, it's an active process. But when you sit to meditate, you realize, oh my God, you cannot even sit for 50 continuous breaths, again and again, you are taken away by the sway of thoughts. So to sit with the breath continuously, to knowingly being aware of being aware, and to see that you are developing there, like you are able to sit now more and more as conscious presence. I think I am finding personally, in my own experience, I am finding that has its own very, very good importance, along with all the words and, yeah.
Does it in any fashion help you in your progress?
A progress in the sense, that imagine that something triggerful happens
Yes.
throughout the day. And
Yes.
in that, where I used to kind of go down with it for 5 days earlier, now it gets over in 24 hours or 48 hours. So that I saw that the importance of the drama going on in the head has gone down further and further, I believe. And of course there can be many factors, but I feel that this practice really helps
Okay.
of knowingly taking the stance of awareness. I am aware. So instead of losing myself into the drama, I can be just aware. And as we were sharing earlier, that then the need to connect the dots, to resolve the dots, it just doesn't matter. It's so trivial. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have felt this too, but I just thought that maybe I'm a random specimen, trying to practice and implement it a bit, because just reading never helped. But I also do it with a lot of, I would say, even movement. In movement also, I retain a kind, now since the last few months, retain a kind of activity, and yet I'm in awareness stand back mode, which is yielding better response. Because now I know that no, I'm not interested. I don't need to respond. So that don't need to respond is easing out a lot of things.
Yeah. Anyone? Anything to share or reflect upon further? Yes, Padalji. Yeah.
That Ramakrishna Paramahansa says he used to talk all these educated people when they used to come there, because people initially they knew that he's a madman and he's uneducated, he's not gone to the school and things like that. And Swami Vivekananda is one. So because he was a college student when he met first, so he had an idea that this chap is real mad. First appearance, Vivekananda thought. Then, because he wanted to change immediately, means Ramakrishna Paramahansa. He says, read that book which is kept on the table or something. So he read that book. It was written there on so many, on so and so date there will be heavy rain, and there will be next day there will be so much of rain, and all those was written there. So he's saying, now okay, now twist that book can a drop of water comes in? Because it is written that throughout the year there will be rain, rain, and rain. But it is there in the book actually. But so he twisted and all, nothing was coming out. So he says, what a madman here. He's giving examples. But they kept on thinking later on when he left that place and all, he was thinking that why he was doing like this. So that ego or whatever may be, that got broken immediately. Similarly, in various meetings, he has told everybody that there are three things. Again means I'm totally ignorant about the thing. And one is GAN, means minus all that GAN. Means I have read the book or this thing, I listened from somebody, and also that becomes the GAN, knowledge. And then becomes big GAN, that is science. Big GAN, science means then you have to do it yourself. And you have to see that, you have realized, if I say that God is there, so you have to realize God to say that yes, God is there. Before that, that big GAN doesn't take place. So what Monikaji was telling, exactly the same thing. Like my brother is in Ramakrishna Mission. And I asked them, because they used to say that you are just sitting idle, you are not asking any question. And they used to have after dinner every day, by the times by the side of the Ganges, they used to have a meeting. So that they used to call it a class before going to bed, 9:30 to 10 o'clock. The Ganges is flowing. Ganges is very broad there. It's about a few miles broad, means it is just meeting the Bay of Bengal, that area. So I asked a question that how day after day after day, in the morning there is one yoga dhyan, and in the evening there is one dhyan period, half an hour each. So I said that every day you are doing this, are you not feeling bored? I asked this question. So the senior most says, no, we are not. Why we are not is, he says that every day when we sit and the frequency of the mind, that is not the same as it was yesterday. So it's something like a research. You can even say that like Einstein is doing research and finding out a new thing, or Newton is doing some research and finding out something. So it is something like a research. Today the search process is something else. But again, I have got something, then my tomorrow's search process will be something else. So like that, we never felt bored that again and again at the morning 4 o'clock, you have to get up and you have to sit down and breathe. No, without no feel. So if we have to develop, it's a practice. Like in English, there is a proverb that practice makes man perfect. So if we come to big GAN stage, become science stage, that means we have to realize ourselves. And that has to come from practice only, not by reading and listening, and we feel very logical and things like that. But once we start practicing, the things may change. Actually, what exactly is it? So that all cannot be said in the books, or it cannot be told by somebody. Like you say that Sharban Khalidang Brahman. Now, has anybody seen Brahman? He says that neither you can think, nor you can see, nor you can hear. So you cannot do anything about that Brahman. And once you have gone there, then there is no talk, nothing of that sort. Means you cannot describe, because there is no language to describe. There is no feelings that which you can express, and there is no end, there is no beginning, and there is nothing of that sort. So that was the time actually that we had to have any field. If you have to progress, means the practice makes a person perfect. So that is required. That is required. Without that, we cannot. Yes, definitely, as Monika ji says that, that it becomes faster. Whatever we are doing in our endeavor, day-to-day activity and all, and if you are concentrating on that job, it can be much faster actually. Like we have been told that in 3 minutes you have to, in the morning in the defense training and officers training, we are told that in 3 minutes you have to finish everything. You have to take a bath, you have to use the toilet, you have to take shave and all. Sheet shower shave they used to call. And we practiced, and it was possible. In 3 minutes you can do everything and then you can come out. So if I tell everybody, they said no, it is not possible. Minimum half an hour. Right? Minimum, have you tried? I have tried. That's what I'm saying, that yes, it is possible. Something like that. The big GAN stage, we have to stage, then only we got the right to say something. Otherwise, we should not. We should not say something which you have not realized, you have not practiced. So and so says, so and so. Even in the legal also, they say that this is hearsay evidence has got no meaning. Hearsay evidence has got no meaning. Somebody told that yes, God is there. Somebody said that. Always, it is like that. hearsay evidence. In the court of law, it will not stand. Thank you.
Yeah, but Mother's Sri Aurobindo's writings, it has its own effect, actually, mantric effect. I feel personally. It has, because before and all, though traditional paths, I used to chant lot of slogas and mantras. As you told, at one time that question arose in me. What is this I'm going on doing like a parrot? What is the effect in me actually? Whether I am following that qualities in which I am praising the Devi. Those questions started arising in me, but after I started reading all these things, it has the effect. At one stage, we would not raising, we should practice. It will make you to practice. That is what my thing actually. If you read for a long time, even without doing any practice, it will make you do the practice, definitely.
Yeah, I think
Because these teachings are like that.
yeah, I think totally, absolutely, and that's why people say that even if you want to read those words that take you somewhere else, you know,
Yeah.
that absorb you in that meditative state, or
Yeah.
promote you or provoke you to practice.
Mm.
So yeah, totally, yes.
Mm.
You know, and the effect of practice, it is actually visible. First of all, in our day-to-day experiences, we feel, as you know, some of us were sharing, that we feel little progress. And the other thing is that these realized masters, when they leave the body, just like Sri Aurobindo left the body, his body was luminous for a few days. You know, I don't exactly
Yeah.
remember how many days, but
Yeah,
it,
with golden light.
yes, 5 days. Okay, so just like that, what we have been reading in Tibetan Buddhism and also other realized masters, even they may not be connected to Buddhism at all, but people who have actually practiced in this life, it shows up even when they are dying, you know, that the consciousness is so luminous and vibrant that the body, you know, retains that fragrance of that consciousness still after death. And it does not decay into just like, you know, a total dissolution and rot immediately.
Yeah.
So that's,
Champaglal.
sorry?
Champaglal.
Yeah.
Champaglal.
Mm.
He was used to
Yeah.
glow and he
Luminous, no?
continued to glow.
Yeah.
Luminous body.
I
Beautiful.
have seen it is as if it is an electrified body.
Mm.
Yeah.
You cannot stand next to him.
Yeah. And I was also reading that what is the need? So somebody was questioning that what is the need for realized masters to like kind of stay with that luminous consciousness with the body? What is the need? So they were telling that first of all, it is the very subtle consciousness that is still attached with the body. And if you touch their heart center, the heart is still warm. You know,
Yes.
the heart is not cold as it happens with usually most of us. The other thing is that if somebody like that has died, who is an evolved person, self-realized person, then if you sit with that body which has a luminous presence, you are immediately absorbed into that meditative state. So it is also to help the people who are still on earth, so to give them inspiration that look, you know, what is possible. So that is one of the reasons that they do, that the consciousness is still there with that body. And it's a conscious decision. And they were saying that, for example, one of the masters had left the body and the body was still in a very luminous state. And then after it was decided what is to be done with the body, that was after about 8-9 days, then the consciousness kind of left the body. So it as if somebody is still there listening, hearing, being conscious of all the stuff, and now it is decided, okay, now the journey can go on. So yeah, it's amazing to see how much is possible for.
Asked Sri Aurobindo, directly asked Purani, I think so. When he came
A.B.
after a
Purani.
long time to meet, Sri Aurobindo, he saw Sri Aurobindo's face and whole skin was glowing, because he is also dark complexion, no, Sri Aurobindo, beginning. he asked him, it seems, directly, how you are glowing like this. Sri Aurobindo didn't answer it directly. He smiled inside and replied back, you are also glowing. What is the secret? Yeah. I remember when you are telling, I am recollecting those stories. Yeah. I think A.B. Purani. I don't know.
I think that was about his friend who was with him during the freedom fight struggle, and then they
Correct,
reconnected
correct.
after
Yeah,
decades.
correct.
Yeah.
Charudat, no, Charudat came after some time. Actually.
Dr. Dalal used to glow. He very, I met him first time I met him 33 years ago. And then I used to meet him every time I went to Pondicherry till the end. He used to sit in meditation, and after 45 minutes, when he would get up from the chair, you couldn't recognize the man. And I would say, Dalal uncle, write something for me or teach me something. You don't need to learn anything. Just sit down. You know, he will always never give you any gyan. He never gave any gyan. He used to tell me, eat fish. He never gave any gyan, but he used to say, just sit down quietly. I guess you'll absorb something, God knows.
You know, I think
Even
like while we,
yeah.
sorry, Chitraji, please.
No,
go on.
Taru, you proceed. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when we were talking about the importance of practice, you know, actually practically doing stuff, you know, I realized, I mean, I just felt for myself that this thing that just reading would help me, you know, is enough for my progress. I don't know, it was such a, again, I thought was an illusionary thing because, you know, again, that prayer, you know, that Astoma Sadgamaya Tamsoma Jyotir, you know, this prayer, I mean, I think all of, you know, everybody almost resonates very strongly with it. And, you know, sometimes I used to wonder on the second state that Tamsoma Jyotir Game, because, you know, especially if you're a sadhak or if you say you're on the path, you assume that you will not be tamasic and all. But again, when I was hearing the discussion, this thing hit me so hard that my cleverness will not end. When I have to keep praying, because something that tells me that, okay, just listening or reading will get me through. It would not, you know, it's like Captain was, you know, talking. I also sometimes, you know, sit in the morning and think that, okay, let me see what, you know, facade is going on today, not facade, but whatever, you know, what is cooking up today. It's just, it's limitless, it's unnecessary, it's like, and the persistence of that thing, I mean, it can be annoying or it can be funny, but it's just like there's so much in the doing domain as well, which is there to just, you know, say, okay, you know, why don't you stop, just read or listen to another video, you know, that is enough. That's more interesting. You see visuals and you see, you know, I mean, in the sense, I feel that it's very easy to get trapped into thinking that just feeling of that beauty when you're reading something, you know, that expansion or that beauty when it touches you, it's enough. You don't have to do anything else. And I think one needs to be, again, careful. You know, that Bulle Shah song, Monica, that right, that okay, उसमें आया ही नहीं, as in, है ना, मैं इधर जा, I went there, but I didn't touch my own heart, kinds that. So many mistakes have said the same thing. It's, I think, very important to not get lost there, and that also is grace, that if one can see it, right, again and again, of course. Yeah, sorry, Chitraji, now you say what you
No. That's what, as Monica said, for a long time, for me, only reading and enjoying, as you said, the mother's writing. And one day, suddenly, after this pandemic, that the inspiration came inside me. What you are reading, whether you realize that psychic, whether you sit and write for that, because of that reading only, that made me to maybe long years. Actually, for me, it is a very long year. I accept that. Actually, it is not very short period and all, but it has its effects. Yeah. For each individual, it is different, no? For
And I
it's
think
different.
it's all, as we say, it's all a journey, it's all a process. So
Journey,
everything
yeah.
has its own, kind of
Mm,
at every part of
yeah,
your life. So without reading,
yeah,
maybe this could not have happened, that I am able to sit.
yeah,
And
definitely.
Jyotsna ji
Yeah,
was sharing, just sit quietly. Now ask anyone, just sit quietly, how difficult it is.
Mm, yeah.
You cannot, the inward mind is not quiet.
Yeah.
And to realize that, oh my God, I have read so much, I have, look at the volumes, they are lying on my table, and yet to sit quietly for 20 minutes at a stretch, it's such a big deal. So what have I really achieved? Pothi pad pad jag mua, pandit bhaya na koi, dhai aakhar prem ke. And this prem, this love is our own true essence. And if I have not touched that practically, viscerally in my body, I think nothing really has happened.
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, keeps us on the path, going on and on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful journey, but
Yeah.
what it may be.
I'm thoroughly enjoying the ride because nowadays, more than being silent and quiet and practicing anything, in activity, it happens. Where I go into total silence and stepping back, and I'm just watching the movie pass by. My, my food has started to get cooked so rapidly. Things are happening so easily, something that I would have got so rattled by in my daily day-to-day activity. My paintings are finishing faster. My, my food gets cooked super fast and very effortlessly. I keep asking at the end of it, I say, Mother, did you do something? Some gyan give me that why is it going so fast? This is a recent development. In the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I find everything is going very fast and I again have loads of time, to do what I like.
Yeah.
So
When
I
the
think
mind,
previously you told there is no time. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Now you are, you can go to that recording and see. You are so many times you told no time. Yeah, now, it is all a development, really.
I think it's amazing to see how when the mind is not lost in the scattered and discursive thinking, so much can be achieved and done. We unnecessarily are occupied so much there. Yeah.
like when I began with you, Monica, with you and Taru, I still remember the first time I listened to you all long back, must be a year plus, more than that. And now the journey has been so magnanimous and so giving, and so transformative that there are no words to describe it. That how much a human being traverses in such a short span of time.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
One thing which I learned from listening to these Buddhist teachings, what they do towards the end of any satsang,
Yes.
they dedicate the virtue to all the living beings, all the infinite number beings. So this workshop, the vital workshop that I was taking, so we started with that prayer. I think we once had shared, may I be the raft and the boat. And every day we started with that prayer, because why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? To set the focus right. And every day towards the end of the workshop, when the satsang is about to be over, we kind of dedicated the virtue of the satsang to all the infinite beings. So I think that was really nice, because
Very beautiful.
yeah, that was really helpful. I learned it from these Buddhist teachings only, that I dedicate all the virtue that I gathered through the satsangs or whatever I'm doing even my own meditations, even my own contemplations, to the infinite number of beings that are there. So not to keep
Very
the
beautiful.
virtue to us. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let us dedicate today also this all the virtue that one may accumulate through all the satsangs, all the illuminations, words, readings,
Yeah.
masters, to the infinite number of beings.
Maybe these
Yes.
are all darshan days, special days, no? That's why this topic also came, yeah, from this November 17th to December 5th, really.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, thank you everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank